What do we need to know about the planet Venus in astrology? What does it symbolize? What it's about? What are its transits and traits? What are its characteristics? What are its qualities? In this video, I'm going to be discussing what Venus is all about. This is the introduction video to a series of videos of Venus through all 12 signs of the videos preceding this. Besides the weekly astrology videos will be Venus through each and every sign of the zodiac. This is the introduction, the preface to that series. But before we go through each and every sign, we have to understand what the planet Venus is about and why it's important and what its symbolism is all about in order to understand your own individual Venus placement. Um, so you definitely want to take that into account before looking at your Venus sign and house placement. So, delving into Venus, it is very, very bright at night. It can be seen almost as bright as the moon. It's the second planet from the sun. It takes 225 days to go around the whole zodiac. It spends up to 24 to 25 days in a sign. It rules both Taurus and Libra. It is considered exalted in Pisces, fall in Virgo, detriment in Aries and Scorpio. Not that I believe and not that I agree with planetary dignities, because there are always both positives and negatives to any um, placement of what you're looking at of a particular planet or point um, in the chart. So, delving into the qualities of Venus, it deals with both love and money. These two things are very, very important because they're both about to be speculated very, very carefully when it comes to this imminent quality. So it rules both of these things. Venus, Libra is more the relationship, caring, the compassion, and Taurus is more materialistic. Taurus is more our resources, our possessions, our finances. Venus is what we find valuable to us, what truly matters to us, what gives us pleasure in life, whatever that may be. Venus can maybe be attracted to a very, very nice home, good entertainment, good food and drink. All those things can appeal to Venus. Venus is about grace and beauty. Someone who is very Venusian embodies these qualities very strongly. Venus rules over our tastes, our styles for things, we find tasteful or what we are attracted to. It can look at our artistic qualities. So, because Venus can be very artistic, very drawn to the arts, music, playing the violin, playing the bassoon, playing the oboe, um, or painting or sculpture or pottery. Those artistic qualities, and those artistic fields are what Venus is really attracted to. And also, what makes somebody genuinely happy? What is it in your life that truly gives you fulfillment, truly gives you bliss and joy? That is Venus ruled. What gives you pleasure in your life is Venus ruled. Venus, depending upon the sign placement, it shows how you go about relationships, how you approach relationships. And the house placement is what an area of life you express your Venus sign. So Venus can look at very compromising, very harmonious, very peacemaking, or understanding the importance of give and take, receiving and giving. It can also look at security in relationships. And so when it comes to Venus, we have to consider that balancing, refining, and getting pleasure from the placement and sign that your Venus is in your chart is in net pine important. So Venus looks at how we spend our money and what we spend it on. We're obviously going to spend it on the things that we value. It also looks at what kind of gifts that we might give to others. Spending it on leisure activities, projection, or attachment to others is ruled by Venus. How we're attracted to and attached to our relationships in those kind of ways because Venus rules Taurus, and Taurus is a very attached earth sign. We can be harmonious peacemakers if we're embodying our Venus energy. There's an appreciation of things as well as being appreciated, both and here. The arts, both love and romance, entertainment, sensuality, and comfort are all Venus ruled. If we're embodying the high road of Venus, we are being very loving. The downside of Venus is being self-indulgent and vain. So we can come across as embodying these characteristics and traits to the nth degree. What? So if we are looking in the high road of Venus, we're looking at being very loving. But the downside of Venus is that we can be indulgent, indulging in food or drink or whatever it is, if it's unhealthy for us. We can also be vain, full of ourselves. Venus is like a flower. It attracts the bees, it attracts the sunlight, it attracts the water. Whereas Mars, which is the other lover planet, chases things down, acts on it, puts the shoots in the boots kind of thing. But Venus attracts. Venus draws things to it. Looks at aesthetics, it looks at affection, as well how we can be affectionate in relationships and the aesthetic of our environment. It can look at pleasure shared with somebody else. So the pleasure that you gain through relationships. Um, it can look at harmony in your relationships, especially your marriage, especially your emotional attachments. Venus spreads love and tenderness wherever it goes. Things that are related to Venus would be music, dance, literature, or all Venus ruled. Indulging our senses is related to Venus. The pleasure that we get from our material possessions is related to Venus. Luxury is also very important to Venus. So this corresponds to the second and seventh houses in astrology. The second house being money and material resources, and the seventh house being relationships, particularly marriage. Venus is how we feel about our relationships, how we feel about relationships in general, how we act on our needs and desires is also related to Venus. Venus rules attraction and attachment to things and others in our lives. Venus is also our concept of self-worth. One of the biggest lessons of Venus to evaluate is what is our self-worth? How are we worthy? How are we in that state of punk being? How are we in that way of being where we can have a very, very strong sense of self-value, feeling worthy of whatever it is that you're receiving in life? Venus is the taste of your favorite food and very heart-provoking music. Venus can be charming and graceful. Venus teaches us to love ourselves, and it's all about having a strong sense of self-worth. Self-love is related to Venus. Self-respect is also related to Venus. We can act out destructively because of self-worth wounds that can come about. Um, if our self-worth, particularly if you have Venus retrograde in your chart, if your self-worth has been depleted in a past life or early on in life, that could come up for review for you at this time. Venus is all about healing our negative patterns with self-love. So when it comes to healing our negative patterns, we look at the negative pattern, we acknowledge it, we accept it, and through that, we acknowledge our shadows and find more self-love for ourselves. Meet the bad parts of yourself with compassion. That's the ticket to self-love. Another lesson of Venus is the act of receiving. Instead of always having to be reciprocal or give back or always give, 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 what can we just receive and just allow and take in and enjoy from others? Um, when we open up to receive from others, in life in general, it gives us satisfaction and peace that will bring joy and love to your environment. Venus is divine feminine energy. Venus looks at your personal style also. Venus can have a lot of creativity. Venus can be related to creativity. And Venus is about really loving and really milking the value of the things that we have in our lives to enjoy. Venus is what we decorate our life with. Venus is all the things in our environment. What kind of environment we like? What kind of things do we want in that environment? That is essentially what Venus is about. So if you enjoyed this video, please like the video. Subscribe to my channel so that you do not miss future videos from me. And I will see you next time in a couple of days to talk about the astrology for the week. If you're watching this on the day that this is getting published, I'm going to be following the astrology for the week of September 28th through October 4th. We're moving into October now. So tune in for that video coming out in a couple of days if you're watching this at the date that this video is getting published. If you're watching this video on a way later date, of course, it doesn't matter to you, but I'm just announcing what the next video will be so that you have a heads up on what is coming in the future. So, anyway, have a great day, evening, morning, whatever it is where you are. I'll see you in the next video.